year. Then all of a sudden, you can't get the overtime that you used to have. So your revenue flattens out. But your expenses keep going up. And they keep going up year after year. And so what you got to do is stop spending on some things that you used to spend on. And then you keep going on. Pretty soon you have to start borrowing or deferring paying. Does that sound familiar? Okay, the difference, that's a structural deficit. A cyclical deficit is like this. You go out there and you earn your money. You get a chance to work overtime. You spend some of it, but you put some of it away. And when that decline comes, your spending keeps going on, but you've set money aside there. And so what happens is that you're able to tide yourself over until, the quotes, the good times come back. And you are never experiencing an ongoing need to cut your standard of living, because you control your standard of living, the thing you cannot control your revenue stream year after year. So you'll notice here on this graph, it's different than the one I had before. The green line goes like this, because that's real life. That's what happens to your income. That's what's happened to the city's income over the last 15 years. You notice a red line here slashes through it, because structurally it has kept us in deficit. Now, you recall a couple of years ago when Joanne was on the council before, we actually had a reserve. That was only because times were, quote, good. And so we set aside money. And it's not there anymore, is it? And that's because of the structural nature of our deficit. It keeps going on, keeps increasing year after year, because we have approved expenditures, basically, essentially, employee contracts that accelerate, that increase at a rate much more rapidly than our dependable revenue stream does. So, what do we do about it? We created an environment, the red one. We created an environment where we lower all of our expenses to where, at the worst, we're going to have a cyclical deficit, never again a structural deficit. Now, why is that important? Because if, as I suspect, at least based on what I've heard, I'm not an expert and I'm not privy to this, but what I've heard is that the proposal that the city has right now is only to get us to the end of June of 2009. Now, as you all know, the contracts go to 2010. You may not know this, but we are looking at a deficit, well, Joanne already pointed out, between now and next June, they expect that we will be $6 million in the hole. In other words, $6 million we ain't got. If we keep going at this same level of income and the same level of expenses, we will have incurred at least another $10 million over the following year. So that means we'll be $16 million in the hole. And then, since the contracts continue until at least June of 2010, that will be at least another $10 million in the hole. So that means we have to find $26 million just to get to 2010. Now, do any of you believe that any of the employee groups, and I'm not singling any of them out, because straight across the board, all of our employees receive more, substantially more, than their counterparts in other similar sized cities. So this is straight across the board. And so all of those have got to come down in order for us to be able to get past 2010. Because the only way we're going to move this red line down far enough is it has to come down permanently. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is if the city goes into bankruptcy, bankruptcy is a tool to fix the problem. Negotiation is a tool to fix the problem. If they go in and their recommendation to come out of bankruptcy is just a plan to get us to 2009, we will be right back in bankruptcy in 2010. And then if they come out with another 2-year plan, we will be right back in bankruptcy in 2012 because you haven't changed the way you run the city. So back in 92, 93, we naively recommended what was called a mission control budget. If you want to know about the concept itself, I strongly recommend that you check out the book Reinventing Government. It was written by Ted Gabler and David Osborne. It's a fun read. There's some exciting stories about how governmental organizations across the country made a difference. But we thought it was a mission-driven budget until the city manager of Fairfield brought me up cold one day and he said, JD, the city already does have a mission-driven budget. He said every organization has one. It's either stated or unstated. In Fairfield, they have a stated budget, that they're going to meet the needs of the citizens and they're going to do it within their budget level and they're going to measure their results on an ongoing basis. At least back in 92, 93, that was their approach. In Vallejo, it's to find the money to pay the employees. Look at how they act. That's their mission. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad people down there. They've got families to take care of, and that's the way the city has already operated, always operated. If we want something different, we have to change how the city operates. And it's not going to do you any good to go out there and crucify everybody that put us into this situation. We're not alone. There are a lot of other cities. The state right now has got a $14 billion deficit. It's got it for the same reason that we have our $25 million deficit. It's because they keep doing things over and over again. They keep looking for money to pay the bills. So we come back to ours. Robert mentioned that one of the things we may have to accept is that we may have to pay more in taxes. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know about you, but I'm going to be out there lobbying very hard for us not to pay another penny in taxes because we already pay more than what Fairfield pays on a per capita basis, and that's with all their shopping centers up there and all the other stuff that's going on. We still pay $8 million a year more than they do, and we still don't get what we're paying for, and we're $25 million in the hole. So we don't, nobody should say we should be cutting back or settling for less. We have settled for less for 15 years. You have to do, what all the employees have to do is find a way to give us what we're paying for. And they can do it because they're part of the problem, but they are the solution. They're the problem because they did what virtually all of us have done at some time in our lives. We got a job, we went to work, and we followed the rules, whatever the rules were. And we really didn't look out to find out whether we should change something. Now, in private industry, you do that, you go out of business. When you're working for a governmental entity, whether it's city, state, county, or the federal government, there is no motivation like that. And so as long as the money comes in, the money will be spent, the employees will get whatever raises come their way. Whether they should be there, even in the first place. There are a lot of people in positions, not necessarily in the city, because really, honestly, we haven't got an awful lot of the employees that we had 15 years ago. There's a lot of them that went that shouldn't have gone. And there are a lot of them that are still here that should have gone. But again, the main reason that they should have gone is because they really can't handle change. Now, when I throw that out there, walk a mile in their shoes, because I guarantee you that a good number of you out there have as much of a challenge dealing with change as